Hello everyone. Happy hump day. I just want to get on here. I have been meaning for the last while to share my coronavirus experience, COVID-19 experience, and some of you know, not many of you know that I was diagnosed with the coronavirus after coming back from a funeral and being sick. So after getting back, and it took my symptoms quite a few days to show up, but at first I didn't even know. I just assumed I had a sinus infection. I felt like something else was wrong with me. But anyway, came back and found out after being sick about 3 or 4 days that I had the coronavirus. I tested positive, and I literally just was at my wit's end on what to do and how sick. So I ended up getting so sick that I had to, of course, I would have quarantined in the house, but my whole family had it. So that was a nightmare on a whole nother level. Everyone in your house is sick. And literally, I was just so thrown back when the nurse, the public health nurses called me and let me know that I tested positive. We had to go through so many questions. Who do we need to get in touch with? What do we need to do? And I was also concerned because I have 2 dogs at home. And of course, everybody knows that dogs can test positive. But today was the first day I saw a story where a dog has literally died from the coronavirus. So I didn't know what to do. I was masked up, gloved up, trying to still take care of my dogs and my family because we had no one else. So back on the experience with the dogs. So we had to glove up, mask up to take care of dogs, to play with dogs because we couldn't go outside. And we were in our backyards and tried to throw balls to them and play with them, but it just wasn't enough. But I literally am just so thankful for how good we feel because for a while, it was just, I had never understood when people say they have asthma. I have never understood when people say they're sick and can't breathe. My daddy had died of congested heart failure and COPD. So, and I remember he had his oxygen tank all the time. I promise you, sick as I got, I would have begged for an oxygen tank because I literally could not breathe. And hear me when I say I'm not trying to make my symptoms like people who have a COPD, but I promise you. So anyway, like I said, I'm not trying to make my experience like people who have really breathing issues, but I promise you, I could not breathe. I couldn't walk up to the door to let the dogs out. I'd literally go into a coughing fit and could not catch no breath. I could not sit up in a chair. So if I was laying down, I couldn't sit up because it took too much energy and exertion. I would just start coughing to death. If I turned over in the bed and it was too much exertion, I start coughing to death and could not breathe. So finally, I got so tired of it because I had no idea I was even experiencing something similar to what patients who have asthma. I had no idea because I've never had it. And no one in my house has had it. So come to find out, the doctors were like, come on into the emergency room. And so, but anyway, to backtrack, we called the nurses line at the emergency room. And they were like, bring her in. She shouldn't be doing this. Just in case they wanted to check me. I promise you guys, it took everything I had to get in the shower and get dressed to even go to the emergency room. It was all I could do. So they gave me breathing treatments. I was there for a while, and they gave me breathing treatments and an asthma pump, inhaler. I guess that's what you call them. So, and I literally just told that doctor that I thought I was dying. And he said, before he has to intubate patients, that's pretty much what they all say. And I thought I was going to die. I could not breathe for nothing in the world. And I told my husband, just the whole experience being in the hospital was scary. So when you guys hear them say that your family members are by themselves and they're in a room, nobody really, not saying they don't go in there, but they really didn't come in there to check me. They spoke to me through phones in the hospital. Like, it was really something else, because I mean, I was positive for COVID and they were not risking to have it. Don't get me wrong, they were in their PPE and stuff, but it was just the fact that you really are by yourself. And I can imagine how the elderly feel, just people in general who are scared to death. I got in there, I had called all my prayer teams, people I knew that knew how to pray, and let them know what was happening, what was going on. So I can honestly tell you, I was scared, but wasn't scared. And I had called my best friend, talked to everybody I was the closest with. Like, if I stay on the ventilator forever, don't let me stay on it forever. When I was telling my friends and my spouse, like, almost like your last will and testament for like your hospital, like how you don't want to be on ventilators and stuff, that was what I was telling them. I was like, look, I'm not going out like that. Don't want to stay on this for months. If I show no improvement, and I wasn't sure if that was going to happen. I just knew that going into the emergency room, I could not breathe. To get out of my truck into the wheelchair brought on like almost a full-blown, I want to say like an asthma attack. I don't know that's what it was, because I've never had asthma, but I could not breathe. I don't know how to emphasize that enough. People are playing with this coronavirus. People are not wearing gloves. They're not wearing their masks. They're not, being careful. And this stuff is real. It is really, really real. And it was so awful. But I am so thankful that the prayers went up and people were checking on me. My closest friends and relatives, they knew what was going on. And I thank God for my mom praying, because I promise you, right after that, my whole breathing thing, and I know you're gonna be like, what? Like you were playing, that's not how it go. I promise you, when I said prayer works, a whole 360 happened. It was almost like I never had breathing issues. And I know it had a lot to do with the treatment they gave, but praise the Lord, I thank God for him making treatment for us. But them doctors and making sure I was okay, I just thank God Almighty that I came out. And I know yesterday when I told a little bit of my story, yesterday when I posted about my story about having COVID and how I had worked out in a month, and how yesterday I worked out, and I talked about that song, Millions Didn't Make It, but I was one of the ones who did. The Lord had me, brought that song to my remembrance yesterday morning when I was having Bible study. And I had a lot of friends that told me, oh, it's by the Winans. So the song is by the Winans. Millions didn't make it, but I was one of the ones who did. And truly, we see the numbers on the news, people who are dying from COVID, people who are infected from COVID. And I just thank God that he saw fit for me to be healed and for me to make it. And that my story didn't end with me dying of COVID. And that he decided to wake me up the next mornings, even though I could not breathe. Y'all, I don't even know how to talk about. I don't know how to talk about people who can't breathe with asthma. I don't. Oh my. Yeah, so before you get the haters on here, or the scientific experts and my medical friends, if I said something wrong or didn't explain it right, do you know my heart was in the right place? I'm not trying to make my experience worse or better than someone else's. I would have chose not to have had it. But I promise you, this stuff is real. And I would not be on here even telling my story if I didn't think it would help the next person to wear your gloves, wear your mask, and really protect yourself. Disinfect your home. Like right now, I'm working on doing that now without it bringing on an asthma attack, or I can't breathe. So slowly but surely, because like I said, my whole family had it. I had to disinfect the whole house. And like I said, every time we touched our dogs, we had to wear gloves and a mask because we don't want them to get it. So it's really been a month of hell. So yep, that's pretty much my story with COVID. I'm on the turnaround of better, retested and waiting on results now. But I tell you guys, I really didn't think for about 3 days I was going to live. For 3 days, I really thought I was going to die. And it got to a point that, my family and friends were begging me to go to the emergency room to go get some help because I didn't know this is how it was. I kept saying, like, I'm not going in there, I'm not getting sicker. And I had all these excuses behind it. I thank God that they talked me into it. I thank God I went. I thank God for the breathing treatments. I thank God for my asthma pump. I thank God because I feel a lot better and I can talk. So I didn't even tell you guys that part. I couldn't even talk. I couldn't hold a conversation. I could barely say a word without choking to death and coughing. Like seriously coughing to death. It was awful. Really awful not being able to talk. So all you guys who, contacted me, inboxed me, you haven't posted in a while, I haven't seen you on social media, I hope everything's well. I know your grandmother had just passed. I just want you guys to know I have barely grieved because as soon as we got back from the funeral, all of us were sick. So I'm really taking this time to just remember my grandmother. She was the true matriarch of our family. That woman was straight up fabulous. She was just everything. And I miss her, love her so much. So right now, like I said, I can talk, I can breathe. I've been on the phone for the last week catching up with old friends and family members because I've been too sick to talk. And I had to put off a lot of interviews. And now I've been having interviews back to back. So I thank God for that. God is just truly a miracle worker. And I thank him for saving me. I thank him for delivering me from COVID-19. I thank God. So all you guys who, contacted me, inboxed me, you haven't posted in a while, I haven't seen you on social media, I hope everything's well. I know your grandmother had just passed. I just want you guys to know I have barely grieved because as soon as we got back from the funeral, all of us were sick. So I'm really taking this time to just remember my grandmother. She was the true matriarch of our family. That woman was straight up fabulous. She was just everything. And I miss her, love her so much. So right now, like I said, I can talk, I can breathe. I've been on the phone for the last week catching up with old friends and family members because I've been too sick to talk. And I had to put off a lot of interviews. And now I've been having interviews back to back. So I thank God for that. God is just truly a miracle worker. And I thank him for saving me. I thank him for delivering me from COVID-19. I thank God. So I pray that everyone takes the time to listen to my story and really think about how their health is. Because when I got to that emergency room, I was really sick. And, I'm thankful that my husband and son healed faster than I did because they worked around the clock making sure I was okay. So I just think about people who are on their own, handling this on their own. My heart goes out to them because I could not talk. I could not breathe. I didn't have the energy to feed myself. I was in so much pain. The fevers were out of this world. The migraine. And don't let people tell you guys that they're like migraines and headaches. I promise you, it's to me, I don't think I can describe those headaches like it's a Charlie horse that doesn't let up at all. I don't have migraines, but I had one for over 2 weeks. That headache was real. Hear me when I say real. So so my husband and I were just trying to describe to the physicians like how the pain was for the head. And I really told him, I said, I really believe the headaches, the migraines were the worst. And to me, they're not migraines. I've had migraines in my mid-20s, and medicine worked. There was not a pill in sight that worked for my migraine. So that's why I said it was like a Charlie horse, that you get this cramp in your head and it just never let up. Nothing you did, drank. And I'm talking about migraine medication I have here because my husband and son have diagnosed migraines from neurologists, and they have real medication here. None of that medication worked. I was so desperate to get out of pain that I was trying to take anything. And I honestly say to you guys, just really and truly be careful and take care of yourself. So so the body aches were something else as well, but you could tolerate them as long as you took Motrin. I'm gonna tell you this, Motrin was our best friend. Motrin was your best friend. Besides me having to have my asthma pump and my breathing treatments, Motrin carried us through. And of course, if you have the congestion and stuff like that, you're really just treating the symptoms, and they're not lying. That's all you can do, because there's nothing they can do. And I saw that when I went to the emergency room and went to get my help. All they could treat was what was going on with me. And finally, one doctor was like, "Oh, you got this? Oh, we'll give you this. Oh, you have this? We'll give you this." I thank God he listened to me and he trusted me and my knowledge enough to know that I was not lying. I just ain't never been that sick. So I pray for everyone who's diagnosed. I just pray for everyone who's dealing with this, who are going through this. I've seen like the craziest stories the last couple of days on the news of people who have died and people who had underlying issues. And I definitely understand now when they talk about the underlying issues and how so severe, your sickness can be. And just from people I know that's had it and how they were hospitalized for weeks on end. But just to say that this is not nothing you want. This is not nothing you want to play with. To those people who get the vaccine and, being the guinea pigs, bless you all. Because everything in my power, I'm going to make sure I do not ever get this again. If I have everything to do with it, me praying to the Father, you could not have ever paid me to believe I would have had the coronavirus. Nothing in me believed that the start of this virus, that I would have had it.